The movie opens up with the main character, Naho Takamiya, enjoying the beauty of fresh cherry blossoms. Right then, she receives a letter from her future self, mentioning how she can change her life in the coming days. But before Naho can read the letter, she realizes that she is running late for school and rushes there. While she is in her classroom, her teacher introduces them to a new student, Naruse Kakeru, who has just transferred schools from another city. Meanwhile, Naho reads the letter and is stunned as all the things that are mentioned in it are currently happening around her. After the class is over, Naho's friends invite Kakeru to join them for lunch, as mentioned in the letter. At first, Kakeru declines, but when the group insists, he agrees. Soon, the group can be seen wandering through a route in the forest while everyone introduces themselves. After a while, Kakeru starts feeling comfortable with Naho's friends, Asuza Murasaka, Hirota Suwa, and Sako Hanita. Later at night, Naho recalls her day at school and writes it down in her diary. Here, we learn that there are two parallel universes. In one of them, the older Naho is wishing that she could have made better decisions in her life, while in the other one, the younger Naho reads the letter sent by her older self and decides to follow it to make the future better. Surprisingly, after the first day, Kakeru doesn't attend school for about 10 days and everyone starts worrying about him. Back at her home, Naho reads the letter and learns that Kakeru will return after a few days, and that is exactly what happens. He arrives during a sports event but doesn't participate. Meanwhile, Naho is approached by a group of girls who invite her to play baseball for their team and help them win. At first, Naho declines, but then she remembers reading the letter where the future Naho mentions that she regrets not participating in the game. Hence, Naho changes her mind and agrees to bat for the team. She even hits a long shot that wins the game for her team. After the exciting baseball match, Kakeru realizes that Naho is hurt and approaches her with a first aid kit. He finds that Naho has a wound on her leg, so he puts some ointment on it. His caring nature impresses Naho, and she starts liking him, as mentioned in the letter. Naho also speaks to herself and states that from now onwards, she will do everything suggested in the letter so that her future self can be happy. The scene then shifts to the older Naho in a parallel universe, and it's revealed that she is now married to Suwa and has a son with him. Naho's other friends also join them, and they mention fulfilling their promise to Kakeru. The younger Naho, she reads the letter and finds out that 10 years from now, Kakeru will be dead. The following day during break time, Kakeru teases Naho to make lunch for him the next time. To avoid any regrets, she obliges and prepares lunch for Kakeru, but can't bring herself to hand the tiffin box over to him. However, at the end of the day, she risks it all and gives him the box. Kakeru is over the moon because this is the first time someone has prepared food for him. He thanks her profusely and reveals the reason why he was absent for 10 days. It turns out that his mother passed away recently. Hearing this, Naho is perplexed. Later at night, she reads the letters and learns that Kakeru will soon get asked out by an older girl in school. This means that Naho will have to confess her love before Kakeru gets a chance to date the older girl. As mentioned in the letter, Kakeru gets the proposal but leaves a note for Naho asking her if he should date a senior. Naho wants to reply with a no, but when she sees Kakeru smiling with the senior, she leaves a note in his locker stating that he can date the girl and it will not affect her. Surprisingly, Suwa notices a change in Naho's expressions when Kakeru is around the senior girl. He realizes that Naho likes Kakeru and is simply hesitating to express her feelings to him. The scene then shifts to the older Naho, where she visits Kakeru's house with her friends and her husband Suwa. There, they meet his grandmother and inquire about the reason for Kakeru's demise. The old woman reveals that after his mother's death, Kakeru started blaming himself and went into a depression. Then one day, he just simply drove into an oncoming truck. The younger Naho reads the letter and finds out that not being able to save Kakeru will be one of her older self's greatest regrets. So, she wants her younger self to get close to Kakeru, share his sorrows, and also express her feelings to him before it's too late. The following day, Naho invites Kakeru to the Bond Festival, and he agrees to join her. Later, the two can be seen together at the festival, enjoying the fireworks. Meanwhile, Kakeru remembers his mother and becomes sad. When Naho inquires about the matter, he reveals that his mother was suffering from a mental disease, and on that fateful day, she asked him to take her to the hospital. But Kakeru refused and proceeded to school. Because of this, she took her own life, and he has been blaming himself ever since. In the next scene, Naho decides to tell everything to Suwa so that they can help with Kakeru. She reveals the letters from her future self and all the suggestions mentioned within. Surprisingly, Suwa doesn't react strangely and mentions that he too has been receiving letters from his future self and is trying his best to overcome all the regrets. Hearing this, Naho becomes relieved and even reads some of his letters. After a while, she finds that some of the pages are missing and asks about it, but Suwa lies and says that they are not important. However, in reality, it is revealed that the pages contained information where future Suwa suggested his younger self help Kakeru and Naho get together. One day, in order to keep Kakeru happy, Naho and the rest of the group celebrate his birthday in class. After a while, everyone pretends to have some work and leaves Naho alone with the birthday boy. Right then, Kakeru gives Naho a bouquet of flowers and proposes to her. The latter is in shock and doesn't reply, so Kakeru explains that he is not looking for an answer, but just expressing his feelings. The scene then shifts to the parallel universe where the older Naho and her friends are in Kakeru's grandmother's house. It's Kakeru's birthday, and similar to the previous scene, Suwa places a bouquet in front of Kakeru's photo. He then hands over the bouquet to Naho, stating that Kakeru would have done the same, making her emotional. Realizing that they can build a new parallel universe in which Kakeru can live, Suwa and Naho start making plans to keep him away from participating in the upcoming relay race competition. They are doing so because through the letters, they learn that Kakeru will twist his ankle during the race and end up blaming himself for his team's loss. While Suwa and Naho are discussing how to persuade Kakeru not to participate, their other friends catch them and start asking about their secret plan. Having no other choice, Naho and Suwa tell Chino, Haneda, and Azu about the letters and request their help in keeping Kakeru alive. At first, they don't believe the story, but for the sake of their friendship, they agree to help. Later in the classroom, when the teacher is selecting candidates for the relay race, Naho and her friends also register themselves for Kakeru's team. This makes Kakeru happy, and he starts to feel confident about their chances. During the day of the competition, Suwa and the others encourage Kakeru to share his pain and sorrows. This makes him feel emotional, and he starts explaining how his mother died. To lift Kakeru's spirit, Naho and her friends assure him that his mother is watching him from above, and she wants him to be happy. Getting this immense support from his friends, Kakeru regains his lost confidence and decides to win the race for his mother. Soon, the relay race competition starts, and everyone from Kakeru's team gives their best, resulting in their team winning the race. Shortly after, while returning to the dressing room, Naho notices a bruise on Kakeru's hand. To her surprise, when she tries to put a bandage on it, Kakeru comes closer to her and kisses her on the cheek. After the morale-boosting win, his attitude changes, and Kakeru starts smiling around his friends. Suddenly, one day, Naho reads the letters and finds out that she will soon end up fighting with Kakeru and that she will never get a chance to apologize for her mistakes. Later at school, Naho notices Kakeru talking over the phone and crying in the corner. Perplexed, she approaches him and inquires what happened. With tears in his eyes, Kakeru reveals about his grandmother's critical health condition. Hearing this, Naho tries to calm Kakeru down, saying that his grandmother will be all right. But he reacts strangely and yells at Naho for not being able to understand his feelings. He mentions that because of his same carelessness, he lost his mother some months before. After the outburst, Kakeru walks away, and from that day onwards, ignores Naho. He does not even pick up her calls and prefers to remain alone. Meanwhile, in the parallel universe, Naho, Suwa, and the others return from Kakeru's house after bidding his grandmother goodbye. On their way back, all of them stop for a while and cry, remembering Kakeru. Later at night, Naho and Suwa decide to write a letter to their past selves, asking them to correct their mistakes and fulfill their regrets. They write the letters and bury them under the big cherry tree, wishing that their past selves get the letter and stop Kakeru from taking his life. The scene then shifts to the day when younger Naho reads the letter and learns that she will never get a chance to see Kakeru again if she does not apologize to him. At school, despite Kakeru trying to avoid her, she approaches him and apologizes for her mistakes. She also admits that she should not have told him anything about his grandmother. Surprisingly, Kakeru tells her that he is the one at fault and tells her to stay away from him as he doesn't want to hurt her again. However, she hugs him and reveals that she wants to be with him forever. In the following scene, it's December 31st, and Kakeru messages everyone to gather at the park club to celebrate the new year together. It turns out that it's the same day he died. Next, Kakeru can be seen wandering inside his house when he suddenly finds his late mother's mobile phone. He turns on the phone and notices a pre-recorded video for him. Kakeru watches the video and learns that his mother actually committed suicide to let him live his life freely, without her being a burden to him. She mentions how much she struggled after separating from her husband. At last, she signs off by asking him to find his happiness somewhere else. After watching the video, Kakeru feels very sad and starts crying, remembering his beloved mother. At night, Naho and the other friends are waiting for Kakeru to arrive at the club park, but he does not show up on time. Knowing that it's the same day he's supposed to die, the group starts searching for Kakeru around the main highway. On the other hand, Kakeru can be seen regretting his mother's death and driving in front of an oncoming truck. Fortunately, just before he is about to collide, he remembers Naho and his friends. He realizes that he has very supportive friends who care for him and his happiness. So, in the nick of time, he turns his bicycle and saves his life. Right then, Naho and her friends arrive and pick him up from the road. Filled with emotions, Kakeru apologizes to them for trying to take his own life and confesses that he treasures them a lot. In the last scene, the older friends can be seen standing on a cliff and watching the sunset, while in the parallel universe, Kakeru, Naho, and their friends are enjoying their time together at a similar place, doing the same thing.